Hey, you are standing at the crossroad, deciding whether to call a friend or walk alone. It feels like you are in control, right? But what if your brain is already made the choice before you even realize it? In this episode, I am diving into the illusion or reality of free will. Are your decisions truly yours, or are they shaped by hidden forces in your mind, your past, or the world around you? Let's unravel the mystery of choice, from ancient philosophy to cutting-edge neuroscience, and figure out what it means to be free. Ready to question everything? Let's go. I am Dr. Shambhu Yadav, a neuroscientist and a stress biologist from Harvard Medical School. So first of all, let's ask a simple question. What do we even mean by free will? It's the idea that you can choose your actions, that you are the author of your decisions, not just a puppet of circumstances. Contrast that with the determinism, which says everything, every choice, every action stems from prior causes, like a cosmic chain reaction. Then there is an agency, that sense of being in the driver's seat of your life. Are your choices really yours? When you decide to hit snooze on your alarm or pick a career, are you calling the shots, or is your brain pulling levers behind the scenes? This episode is all about peeling back those layers. Let's first look into the philosophy. Imagine I am at the cafe, staring at the menu, coffee or tea. It feels like I am free to choose. But what if my brain is already decided based on my morning mood, my caffeine addiction, or the fact that baristas brew coffee right now? This is where the philosophy stepped in, and it has been grappling with the free will for the century. So let's start with the determinism. It is the idea that everything in the universe, including your thoughts, is caused by something that came before. Think of it like a domino effect. Your choice of coffee was set in motion by your brain wiring, which was shaped by your genes, your upbringing, maybe even what you ate for the breakfast. It is a compelling view, but it can feel like it strips away from the freedom. Now flip the coin to libertarian free will. Not the political kind, but the philosophical one. This says you are the genuinely free. You can choose coffee or tea, and nothing's forcing your hand. It's like you are a little good of your own decision, unbound by the past. Sounds empowering, right? But how do you square that with the science, which keeps finding pattern in our brain and behaviors? And then there is compatibilism, the middle ground. It says you can be free even if the determinism is true, as long as your actions align with your desire. If I want coffee and I choose coffee, I am free, even if my brain was nudging me that way. Philosophers have been at this forever. Aristotle talked about the voluntary actions, saying we are responsible for what we choose. Kant argued for a kind of freedom tied to reason, where we act according to moral laws we set for ourselves. Hume was more spectacle, like pointing out how our passions often drive us, not just cold logic. Nietzsche threw a wrench in it, questioning whether you are just chasing illusion of control. And Sartre, that existentialist, insist we are condemned to be free. meaning we are forced to choose, even when we don't want to. Heavy stuff, right? Let's make it real. Think about a big choice like picking a career, or take a moral dilemma. You see someone drop their wallet. Do you return it or keep it? You might feel free, but what if your upbringing, your values, or even your mood that day tips the scale? Philosophy asks us to question whether we are as free as we think. And these ideas aren't just abstract, they shape how we live. If everything is determined, can we blame anyone to anything? If we are totally free, why do we keep making the same mistakes? This is the turn. Like philosophy set up the puzzle, but it doesn't solve it. It leaves us wondering if free life is an illusion or a reality. Now let's talk about the neuroscience. Like, what is your brain doing before you decide? Okay, so I am sitting here thinking about my coffee choice again. It feels like I decided, but what if my brain was already gearing up for what choices before I even knew it? Neuroscience has been poking around in our skull, and what it's found is wild. Let's talk about how decision actually happening in the brain. It starts with the area like the prefrontal cortex, which is the brain CEO, weighing option and the planning. The basal ganglia get also involved, handling habit and the automatic behaviors, while the motor planning areas prep your body to act, like reaching for that coffee cup. Now here is the classical experiment that shook things up. Back in 1980s, a scientist had people make simple movements like flexing their wrist while he measured their brain activity. He found something called the readiness potential, a burst of the electrical activity in their brain that happened before you are aware of your decision to move. So, your brain's like, we are moving. And only then do you think, oh, I decided to move. More recently, a study using fancy brain scan called functional MRI. It have gone further. Like, they have shown that the pattern of brain activity can predict your choice. Say picking a red pen over a blue one, seconds before you are conscious of it. Seconds, that's an eternity in brain time. What does this mean? If your brain's already leaning towards a choice before you decide, are you really free? Let's break it down. For small choices like picking a pen, it makes sense that your brain might automate things. You don't need to philosophize over every tiny decision. But what about big one, like choosing a partner or career? Are those predetermined too? So the neuroscientists argue that free will is an illusion, that we are just watching our brain play out a script. Others say, hold on, just because your brain active first doesn't mean you are not in control. Maybe consciousness is like the final stamp of approval. But let's look into the relatable example. Like, you are at the grocery store picking out cereals. You grab the sugary one you love, but was that really a free choice? Your brain might have been primed by a commercial you saw, or maybe your blood sugar low, making you crave sweets. Now things bigger, like choosing to move across the country. It feels free, but what about your job, prospects, your family ties, or even your brain's wiring for risk taking? So the neuroscience is showing us that our choices are tangled up in the processes we don't fully control. And this is the turn. The brain's doing a lot behind the scenes, and it's tempting to say free will's an illusion. But Knowing this doesn't mean we are helpless. It's like peeking behind the curtain of a magic show. So the understanding trick doesn't run it. It might even make you appreciate it more. So let's zoom out and see how psychology adds another layer to this puzzle. Now, psychology point of the view, the hidden puppeteers of your mind. I am thinking about that time I impulses bought a pair of shoes online. Felt like my choice, but was it? Psychology says our decisions are shaped by all sort of sneaky influences, things we don't even notice. Let's talk about cognitive biases. Those mental shortcuts our brain love. Take priming. You see an ad for the pizza and suddenly you are craving it for dinner. Or confirmation bias, you lean towards choices that fit what you already believe. They aren't conscious decisions. They are your brain taking the path of least resistance. Then there is your environment, your upbringing, your culture, your friends. They are all whispering in your ear, shaping what you think is your choice. I grew up in a family that valued hard work. So when I chose a demanding career, was that really me or was it my parent voice in my head? Add in habits, which are like an autopilot for your brain. You grab coffee every morning because it's routine, not because you are carefully weighing tea versus coffee each time. Now let's get personal. Addiction, impulse control, procrastination. These are where free will feels like it's on shaky ground. Someone struggling with addiction might want to quit, but their brain reward system is screaming for another hit. Then procrastination. Procrastination is the same vibe. I know I should work on this podcast, but I am scrolling social media instead. Psychology shows us that our choices are often driven by subconscious forces, not some pure free will. But we are not doomed. Knowing about these influences can help us fight back. Take mindfulness meditation. It's like shining a flashlight on your brain sneaky tricks. By slowing down and noticing your thought, you can catch yourself before you impulse buy those shoes. Or habit formation. You can train your brain to make better choices, like swapping out that sugary cereals for something healthier. It's not about being perfectly free, it's about steering the ship a little better. And this is the turn. Psychology reveals how much of our behavior is shaped by force we don't see. But it also hands us tools to take back some control. It's like learning the rules of a game. You might not win every time, but you can play smarter. Now let's see how this all plays out in the real world, especially when it comes to big questions like morality and justice. So, who is responsible? Okay, let's get serious for a second. If our choices are shaped by our brains, our biases, and our environment, what does that mean for things like morality and responsibility? And this is where free will gets more messy. Imagine a courtroom. Someone's on the trial for the stealing. Their lawyer argues, "Your Honor, my client's brain scan showed they were predisposed to impulsive behavior, and their upbringing was rough. Their environment pushes them towards crime. Can you really blame them?" It's a tough question, right? If our actions are determined by biology and circumstances, is anyone truly responsible? Philosophy has wrestled with this forever. If determinism is true, it's hard to justify punishment. Why lock someone up if they were just following their brain script. But if we have free will, even a little, then we can hold people accountable. Compatibilists say it's not about being totally free, it's about acting in line with your reason and desire. If you stalled because you were desperate, not because someone held a gun to your head, you are still responsible, even if your brain was nudging you. Legally, this is a minefield. Some courts are starting to look at neuroscience. Brain scans have been used to argue diminished responsibility, like in cases of brain injury that mess with impulse control. But most legal systems still assume free will. You choose to break the law, so you face the consequences. It's a practical, but is it fair? Imagine this scenario. A person's brain activity predicts they will commit a crime before they even do it. Should we punish them for what their brain says they will do? It's like something out of a sci-fi movie, but with the modern technology, it's not that far off. This ties into ethics too. If we are not fully free, how do we judge right and wrong? So the understanding this doesn't excuse that bad behavior, but it makes you think twice about judging others too harshly. Maybe we are all just doing our best with the brains and lives we have got. And this is the turn. The question of free will shake up how we think about blame, punishment, and morality. It's not just a courtroom issue, it's about how we treat each other every day. Knowing our choices are shaped by so many factors can make us more compassionate. But it also challenges us to take responsibility where we can. So how do we live with this knowledge? Alright, let's bring this home. Knowing all this stuff about our brain and biases doesn't have to feel like a trap. It can actually be empowering. Think of it like this. If you know your brain's pulling you toward that sugary cereal, you can pause and make a different choice. It's not about being perfectly free, it's about the working with what you have got. Right? Now, let's talk about how to do that. First of all, mindfulness meditation. It's not just trendy yoga stuff, it's about the noticing what is going on in your head. Next time you are about to make a choice, even a small one, take a breath. Ask yourself, why am I leaning this way? Is it habit? Is it a stress? I have tried this when I am tempted to procrastinate. Just pausing for a second can make me realize I am avoiding work because I am overwhelmed, not because I am lazy. That shift in perspective can help you make more intentionally. Then there is metacognition, thinking about your thinking. It's like being your own brain detective. When I chose to start with podcast, I sat down and asked myself, is this what I really want, or am I just chasing approval? It's not foolproof, but it helps you dig into your motive. You can also build better habits. If you know your brain loves shortcuts, use that to your advantage. Reflection is another big one. At the end of the day, I sometimes jot down a couple of choices. Picking coffee over tea, I ask, what was the driving me there? It's not about beating yourself up, it's about seeing the pattern. And over time you start to feel more in control, even if your brain is still doing its things behind the scene. So understanding your brain doesn't take away your freedom, it gives you more. It's like the learning how a car works so you can drive it better. You are not rewriting your brain code, but you are learning to steer. And this is the turn. We might not have a total free will, but we have got enough wiggle room to shape our lives. It's about taking responsibility for the choices we can make, even if they are shaped by forces we don't fully control. So, here we are at the end of this journey. We have gone from the ancient philosopher to brain scan to everyday choices. And what have we learned? Free will is tricky bits. Our brain, our biases, our environments, they are all in the mix, shaping what we do. But that doesn't mean we are just robots. There is still room for agency, for conscious effort, for choosing to be a little better each day. I think about that coffee choices this morning. Maybe my brain nudged me, but I still picked it up, sipped it, and enjoyed it. And that feels like freedom, even if it's not the whole story. Okay, what choices did we make today that felt truly yours? Maybe it was deciding to watch this podcast, or maybe it was something bigger like standing up for what you believe in. Now ask yourself, how can understanding your brain make you freer? Can you pause before your next big choice and notice what is driving you? And that's where the magic happens. Not in the being perfectly free, but in working with what you have got. So, free will might be the partly an illusion, but it's also a reality we create through awareness and effort. It's not about escaping your brain or your past. It's about dancing with them. So the next time we might dive into the consciousness or moral neuroscience. So stick around. For now, go out there and make a choice. Any choice. And see if you can feel the freedom in it. Thanks for joining me and catch you later.